Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the League of Inches podcast. Obviously, we didn't do a post-game show last night live out to Facebook and YouTube, so we are doing one basically 24 hours later, having a bit of a debrief about the game, about our night as well. We'll have a bit of a chat straight away about how the night was. Obviously, our first event at our major sponsor, the Caxton Street Brewing Company. Watch party game 2. It was awesome. Plenty to talk about for there. Apologies about the voice, feeling a little bit under the weather, but just showing my true blue spirit. Not shying away. Very easy to shy away after last night's result and just go, it's too hard basket. But I think for you guys, the viewers out there, it's very, and the listeners out there, it's only fair that we do this and I just wear it. I'll wear the punishment that's going to come my way the next half an hour or so. And, it's appreciated. It's Origin spirit. It's what it's all about. It was good to see it was back rearing its bloody head last night. So that was awesome. But Trav, very proud. The rumor has you haven't taken any of that off from last night. Is that true?
Yeah, pretty much. Showered in it, slept in it, woke up in it. Obviously, went to school in it. Came back. I've had another shower in it, and I'm ready to go.
Oh, goodness me, guys. I'm not looking forward to this next half an hour, but here we
unlike
go.
you, Joel, I'm humble. So
look, I don't want you to be. I don't want you to be. I want you to bring a bit of what to this podcast. So I'm happy to wear it. I'm happy. Bring it on. And let's feed into game 3 because it's going to be a cracker. So yeah, just quickly, just a little bit about last night. Obviously, we did hold. You would have seen the socials, a few of our posts, videos, stuff like that. So awesome event, our first one at the Caxton Street Brewing Company. So shout out to those guys. Awesome event. We were downstairs in the bunker area. Wings were flowing, 4 different flavors that were all absolutely amazing, and it was literally all you could eat. So rolling out of there, feeling like a chicken wing myself by the end of it. So that was awesome. Basically, drinks were flowing nonstop as well. Everyone was happy. Look, Queensland in enemy territory as a blue. There was a few questionable souls there that were going, but it's part of Origin. It is what we do. It's what we love. And looking back on it now, it was a very, very fun night. And I want to thank the Caxton Street Brewing Company for hosting the first one for us of many. Look, game 3, there's plenty to happen for game 3. Please keep an eye on social media for a couple of exciting announcements to come shortly, but that promises to be bigger and better than ever. So make sure you are following. Make sure you get your tickets if you don't win one by any chance. If you are around the Brisbane area, highly recommend being out there. Trav, cracker of a night.
Yeah, it was awesome. 3 massive projector screens, live and loud. Bar just up the bar, not far away. Plenty of people working, so we didn't have to wait for long. Toilets weren't too far away. And it's just the people were great. Like, it was just a really, really nice venue. Really stoked to now lock in a home to go and watch the rugby league when I want to and need to. And yeah, how good. It was awesome.
It really was very. I'm the same. I'm very, very keen. That's going to be our home away from home, essentially, and plenty of more events to come there, which we're so excited about. Let's rip into obviously Origin. So Queensland getting the Bickies by 2 points there last night. Funnily enough, 5-4 to the Blues. So the Blues lost thanks to some poor goal kicking by Zachy Lomax. I want to focus first of all, though, on the winning side. So Queensland, which means, Trav, I'll let you go first. Dissect and talk to us about that Queensland performance.
It was what a game! It was just the second half was concerning, but I sort of New South Wales are too good not to have done that when you're down 26-6 at halftime. They're just way too good to have stepped up like that to make it a game. And to be fair, the way that they were playing, I actually said with about 12 minutes to go, I don't think we can hold on. The way that yous were just Bulls going through, playing the way that you were playing. I just couldn't think. I just thought that the amount of barrage defensively that you gave us for that whole second half, I didn't think we had the grit to hold on. But mate, we did, and we came up big with a couple of big tackles, forced tackles. Harry Grant's last shot at the end was just enormous. And it was a very gritty win. And I'll take it. I think we and to be fair, and I'll be straight, I think we blew you off the park in the first half. 26-6. Just a lot went right for us. That first try, you went up 6-0, or New South Wales went up 6-0. And the Tino error, a couple of bad mistakes, and I kind of thought, oh no, this doesn't look good. And then just after that try, just a couple of things clicked over again, and I thought, yeah, we just had a blinder in first half, and I really liked the way we attacked. I liked the grit. I liked what Harry Grant was doing with really quick play of the balls. Munster's leadership was great. I thought we played in the first half the wet weather really well, which was a major factor. And to be fair, as a Queenslander and leading into that game, I kind of think the weather needed to kind of happen for the game to be even. Like that had to we needed that little bit to give us that extra even, to just bring it back to pack, because based off the list, like we can be competitive, but I don't think we can win. But yesterday showed that. I like a quick other dissection in terms of I thought Kurt Capewell was a good selection, and I was happy that he got picked. I didn't like where he was picked. I thought he would have been better to come and play off the bench, short, sharp minutes. But I thought he was huge. I really liked what he did. Like to play the full 80. I thought he was fantastic. I loved the interchange with the swap over for the wing and centers with Hammer and Val, and thought that was really good. And to be fair, there was one really bad defensive mistake that Val made where Crichton pretty much just waltzed on in. The Seas basically, he just made it look like the Seas parted, and Crichton walks in and has a really easy try. I think it was the 50 odd minute one that Crichton did. But other than that, I thought Val was really good defensively and held his own in the centers. Tom Dearden was amazing. I loved what he did. And he was like, he definitely had to play Robin behind Batman, which was Munster. Munster was Batman, and Dearden had to do that. And when the run was on, when the right pass was there to be made, where he needed to be, he was there, and he was just immense. And I really, really liked that selection. And he certainly showed exactly how good that pick was. And it was a big balls pick to put him there, but it certainly showed. And I think that just that game simply doesn't matter what happens in game 3. I think that pick's been justified now, and moving on, that's just the way it's going to be. So I was really happy with that. To be fair, I thought Liero, as annoying as it was that he got picked to start, I actually think he did a really good job. He really held the line. He was that really big brick wall that we needed him to be. He didn't allow the forwards to, the New South Wales forward domination to come through, and thought that he just did a really good job. There was nothing flashy, but that's Trent Liero, and we knew he wasn't going to do that. It was just a matter of whether we thought maybe he might, have a missed tackle or do something indiscretionary or that would be ill-disciplined, and he didn't. And because of that, we're talking positive about him instead of negatively, because we know he's got a reputation around that. And so I thought he was really good. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good start. I think it's interesting that Tino only played 44 minutes. That's really interesting. I'm looking at, like
sternum injury, I think.
Pardon?
That sternum injury has a little bit to do with that, I think. I think it's a bit worse than they're making it out to be at the moment.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a story about this game, though, isn't it? Like the injuries going into the game and how that affected the game, and where that sort of sits amongst, like, there's some stories around New South Wales around those injuries and how that's actually affected them in the way that they've played. And to be fair, it probably cost a game. But yeah, so that was interesting. And then the Mofo pick at 23 and to only play 23 minutes again to start, I just didn't like that. I never liked that pick in the first place. I would rather have him. And look, I mean, he held his own early, and I get it, and I get why, but he didn't really do anything. Like he didn't really offer much. I would have rather those 23 minutes him coming off the bench, resting up a Carrigan or whatever, and going from there. But full credit where it's due, Carrigan was a monster when he came on. Like he was just huge, and that when he came on in that first half and onwards, he was a catalyst to a lot of those 26 points. Like he was just enormous. So yeah, that's a bit of a broad one, and we can dissect that a little bit more.
Yeah, before I go too much into that, just quickly, I wanted to say one thing, and it's going to be the title of this. I do blame Woodsy. I blame Aaron Woods for this because obviously his comments started this, it ignited the fire, it poked the bear, and we are where we are now. We haven't spoken about that on the podcast. We won't speak about that now. It's gone, it's done, it's dusted, everything's been said and done. Apologies been done. I think we all agreed, and there was discussion last night about it. We're all pretty much on the same page about where that was and how it should be. So I'm not going to bore everyone now. But look, Aaron Woods, I blame you. We should be coming home right now with a series win. And unfortunately, we're not because, hey, this was boring and that wasn't good for game one, even though it worked for New South Wales. That was fine. Let's poke him. Let's get into him, which is always a bad idea. And we've seen it happen now. So someone please get a gag and just gag Woodsy for the next 2.5 weeks, please. Thank you.
And anyone else that can be contentious and silly, because that's what the Maroons are looking for, right? They're looking
even
for
Gus.
That.
I think Gus said last week that you guys couldn't win. Like there was no way that he could see you guys winning. So you know what, Gus? Even on top of the Galvin stuff, you can just start being quiet for a while as well, please. Just until game 3's over, just please. But you're right on the Queensland stuff. I did notice like Carrigan played 33 minutes, and I just felt like that's nowhere near enough minutes for Carrigan at that level, especially being your second best forward. So I did see that was a bit interesting. I do see what you're saying about him coming on and providing that impact, but I also think he can do that, doubling that amount of time as well. Like he can just be up on there and just be that consistent guy. Like I look at the minutes, and Lindsay Collins played more minutes than him. It was only by 3 or 4 minutes, but it was still more minutes. I just find that crazy in itself. So I'm not too sure. I need to go back and re-watch that game to see what was happening there with Carrigan's minutes and what time he did come off after his stint and things like that to see where the game was at, stuff like that. But it felt like when New South Wales were on a roll, he would have been one of the players I would have relied on to be out there doing the dirty work and getting to the tackles and things like that. So a little bit interesting there. But again, maybe there is an injury. Who knows what's happening there at the moment? There seems like a number of players, like you've said, and we will touch on that from a New South Wales point of view shortly, who have been hiding a few little things which became very evident at this game. And we say you can't hide injuries at this top level. And that was evident again last night. But Cameron Munster, the captain, I just want to shout out to, he's always got man of the match. Whether there's a lot of people out there today who's been messaging the page and stuff and comments and stuff saying they thought toe, things like that. But look, I think Munster's captain's knock led from the front, and that's all we probably thought was going to happen when he was named captain. And he did exactly that. It was a very scary prospect, knowing that for 80 minutes as a Blues fan, we're going to have Munster on the ball, wanting it every single set, and that's scary. And that's what happened. So I think it's a masterstroke by Billy to select him as captain on there for the 80 minutes. I think the way he handled the referee and his teammates and things like that was really good as well. And that's the side of Munster I think many of us have seen before, which obviously Billy has seen. That's why he's gone that way. And it was a real good credit, a big credit to Billy for going that way, because there was a few out there that probably wouldn't have gone that way and was a bit surprised by the captaincy, but we now see it and it now makes so much sense.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. And I think you said it really well. And full credit where it's due. He actually led the entire Queensland team for run meters, according to NRL.com, at 130 meters. The next one under that was 107, and that was Capewell. They're the only two for the entire Queensland team that was over 100 meters. Munster ran 17 times. That just sums up the mind frame that Munster had. He knew that he had to do this off his back, and this was the way to do it. And just it was just immense. And look, to be fair, those numbers are a bit silly. that it was pissing down rain. So that is just the way the game was. And most of those run meters were in the first half. The second half, we were just playing catch up and defensive all, the whole game. So, or the rest of that half. So, yeah. But still, credit where it's due. 130 meters and led by 23 meters to the entire team is just immense.
Yeah. Like that first half performance from you guys, look, taking nothing away, it was a fantastic performance. Look, controversially or not, it did help having 14 players on the field, but at the same
that's
time,
garbage.
just on like let's just get it out of the way. Let's just get this elephant, pick it up, throw it away so we can move on. 8-0 in the first half is something that is
you're making a story out of a story that you wanted so that you can have this story, right? But keep going.
But hang on, let me say what I want to say first. I am not going to sit here now, and I've gone back, I've watched the penalties and things like that. I've watched 360 and that tonight. I've gone over, I've looked at things, heard things all day. I've had it all on podcasts and that today. I understand and I get that a lot of the penalties that New South Wales did concede were penalties. I get that. The discipline from the New South Wales side was piss poor in the first half, and also the handling. The handling, I think it was a 50-something% possession handling thing for the first half, which is just so ordinary. It's not funny, but there is no way in the world watching that live. Queensland were perfect for 40 minutes straight. It just simply wasn't. It was impossible, and it didn't happen. And there was a number of times I've seen them offside, things like that, where if the referee was going through with how he was officiating, there could have easily been 2 or 3 penalties gone the other way in the first half alone. Now, the second half, he did officiate a bit better. The whistle seemed to go away somewhat, so he's obviously got told something at half time. And 2-2, I think the penalty count was in the second half. So not really level up at all, but it just sort of let the game flow. But I just think in the first half, that's my biggest thing here with Ash Kleins, and I spoke about it with a few of the boys that were there last night. I wouldn't even, and I know many out there who don't even have him in their top 5 referees in the game. Now, why has he got a monopoly, it feels like, on this event at the moment, where I don't remember the last Origin game he officiated, which was actually like we go back from it and we go, that was actually a really good officiated game, where you think back to one of the best grand finals of all time, that Penrith versus Broncos grand final a couple of years ago. Adam G was the referee. Since that performance, which was absolutely sensational, like one of the best officiated games I've ever watched, he's become basically extinct from any big game on the weekend. I notice he always does some of those lower games now. He's just sort of been pushed to the side. It's like there's this, and look, it's this thing that doesn't really get spoken about much, but it feels like there's a boys' club back again at the referee ranks, which was there a few years ago. And there's only certain people that will get certain jobs or certain games and things like that. This is the pinnacle of our game. And I just feel like whatever side of the fence you sit on, if you're coming away with that and it's an 8-0 penalty count to start the game with, there's some question marks there. There is some definite going, well, I don't know. And even like Queenslanders could agree with me right now. Ash Kleins isn't in the top 5 referees at the moment. So he's continually got this officiating of Origin, and it just does not, for me, fill me with any confidence for Game 3. I feel like at the moment, unless they change, Game 3 has the potential to be one of the best Origins we've ever watched, but also to be completely ruined by a referee that feels like he's a lot about himself at the moment, which I just hate.
I don't think the NRL or anyone would have let that happen, especially because there's going to be this conversation after this game, and it's going to last for another few days about what, and it'll continue on until a few days before the next game. So I think if Ash Kleins got the monopoly. I asked you last night, like, what haven't I heard, and what has other heard that as to why he's the one that does this every year? I don't know, and we didn't have an answer for it. There was a few things we sort of floated, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. And I'm not going to stand here and say that he's the best referee. You know, to me, I think this game or these games and the grand final are the best games of the year. That's where the best, essentially that's where the best. These are where the best players are. They're the best 2 teams in the grand final. It should be the best officiating crew too. It's as simple as that. like if you're going to have the best of the best, have it all the way around. Have the best person in the bunker as well. Like it make it simple.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, before we move on to New South Wales, obviously going into Game 3, it's early days, anything can happen. But is there any changes you'd make? For me, looking at that as a non-Queensland fan, I've got a few question marks. I don't know if it's rightly or wrongly so. I've got some question marks around Ponga, if I'm being honest. I think Ponga's continued his form, which has been all year, and it hasn't improved. I think we gave him some chances to do so at the Origin Arena now with better players around him. I don't think he's done anything really in the last 2 games to warrant an automatic selection in Game 1. I think that depends a lot on whether the Hammer, if they try and push Tuolangi back into this side, Hammer maybe goes to the fullback. Depends on how Walsh is for the next couple of weeks, I guess. Other than that, I think it'd just be more personnel. Like me personally, I'd go Paddy Carrigan back to starting. I just think that's a natural fit for probably Mo. Just a straight swap between those two. And apart from that, nothing really comes to mind that I would be changing for Game 1. What about yourself as a fan?
It's hard to change a winning formula. And so, I can just see Billy literally just sticking with what it is, and just going by it. I mean, I would highly suggest there's some changes, but I don't foresee it happening. I'm against what you're saying and disagree with you on Ponga, and I truly believe that you would not be questioning anything about Ponga if he didn't do those 2 drops. So if he doesn't have those 2 drops, which literally stick out like dog's balls for him, but otherwise, I thought his game was pretty good. He was running, attacking where he needed to. He held the line really well. He defended really well. It was just those 2 drops off the high ball that they kept putting on top of him that he just couldn't take. But and I even said that last night with one of the guys who's a Newcastle fan and has been riding Ponga really hard this year and very negative about him. And he even agreed. Ponga played well last night. He had a good game for the conditions and what he had to do. I thought he was really well. It was really good. It's just that those 2 errors were really bad errors and just showed that he's very vulnerable and a bit soft under that ball. And that's certainly going to be a liability when the weather's better, if the weather is better in 2 weeks' time. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So I wouldn't make that change. I like the back line. I would like Tuolangi, but unfortunately, I don't see where he fits. I thought Toya was good tonight. Last night. I thought he held his own defensively. He was really good. There was a couple of attacking. There was one drop that he had. There was also one where his eyes lit up. Like he's like, holy crap, I'm about to score a try in Origin in my second game. And and he made the move before he even had the ball in his hands. And we all had a good laugh at it. But, it was literally just a young fella who got excited. So that's not it was a bad mistake, but not a bad mistake, if that makes sense. I thought he was really good. And unfortunately, the ball just didn't go to Coach's side. Coach just had to do what he had to do and keep him accountable. But I wouldn't go anywhere there. To me, the changes I would make is, one, exactly what you said, Mofo to the bench, if he even stays. I'd actually like to have him gone and have Hawes. I just think Hawes would just be enormous for us with a bit of firepower, especially what's going to happen in Game 3, because that's what's going to need to happen. Game 3 is going to be full on, right? This is going to be a brutal war. And I think Horsbrook is that type of guy. He's just that dog dude that I think would be really nice to bring off the bench or start him playing that 23 minutes. And I'd be happy for Hawes to do that and then play Carrigan the rest of the game. Like, that's what I would do. I'm not sold on Liero at the 13, but I liked what he did last night. But I think also the weather conditions helped him in what he had to do. He didn't have to do anything flashy or much. So I'm not sold on that. I still think I'd like Cotter to the 13, Liero to the bench, and then bring up Nano. Very surprised in what happened with Nano last night and barely even noticed him. I mean, he only played 16 minutes. And he was our best player in Game 1. So I thought that was very surprising. So I would make a couple of those changes in that. But otherwise, yeah, I don't have a problem with anything else, really. I think that they're just a couple of those just little touch-ups, I think.
Yeah. Before we move on to New South Wales, just one question for you. Are you slightly concerned that it's now been 4 halves of football this year for Origin? And I think New South Wales has been the better side in 3 out of the 4.
Of them. Comfortably being the better team in 3 of them. Yeah, 100% it's concerning.
Yeah.
And to be fair, we've had one good half and put 26 points on.
Yeah.
Like, that's incredible. That's like
I'm also like, the reason I'm asking that is more so like, I know what you mean about you don't change your winning side, which I totally get. And that could be Billy Slater's thinking. But at the same time, it's like, if you think of the series so far, it's also like, well, maybe we haven't been that good of a team. Like, we've won one half of football where New South Wales were really poor. At the same time, we did absolutely demolish it. We hung on, we showed that spirit, we showed that fight and determination, which was awesome. But like you said, there might be room for that one or two sort of changes that hopefully, oh, I guess from a Queensland point of view, you're probably thinking hopefully Billy doesn't just rely on his morals. Because I do think, if I'm trying to be as neutral as possible and just look at this game and try and call it as it is, I still do think that Queensland have that two or so changes to make to actually be that stronger team for game 3 that they need to be. Because if they go in with a similar team that they've got for game 2, I don't think they can win. But if they
No,
can
I
make one
agree.
or two more changes, I think they're right in the fight.
Oh, I agree with you totally. Yeah, I cannot disagree one iota with what you've just said there. I think there's some tinkers and tweaks that we need to make to really make it legit, and we have to. Billy needs to read the room, and by what I'm saying there is, game 3 is different. This is going to be different. This is now in Sydney, so they've got the home crowd. It's going to be much more brutal. Players are going to put their bodies even more on the line than what they did last night. If to be fair, if Luai doesn't get sin bin for an eye gouge and Lomax doesn't get sin bin for an elbow through the middle of Liero's face, I hate to think what's going to get sin bin in game 3. So, like, again, it's just going to. The point is that if you're not going to sin bin them for that, it's got to be double worse for something that happened in the third game, which means it's just going to be so much harder. It's going to be so much tougher, and I think some of these tweaks need to be made to be able to read that and go into it. Which is why I think Horsburgh is going to be good. I don't think Mofo's that dude. I think he's a bit soft. He's a bit caring. Like, he's a big body, but he's just not that dominating, enforcering type player that Horsburgh is. That would be great for that aura of a game 3 that's on the line when you need to. And I think Nano is going to be that guy again if the weather's good to attack with the high ball and things, because to be fair, Ruben Cotter was really good last night, but it's because it was a dogfight. It's because it was wet. It's because there was errors, there was mistakes. It was straight lines. The ball wasn't moving edge to edge. There wasn't much side play. It was just straight lines straight through, and that's why Ruben Cotter looked good. But if it's a dry track in the brutal in that type of game, I think Ruben needs to be out off the edges, off the edge. And we put Nano in there so that not only do we get the defensive stance that I think Nano has now learnt to play, but we also get his attacking upside. So I think that has to, there's little bits and tweaks there. So yeah, I agree totally.
Yeah. Just so we don't get in trouble as well, just quickly with one thing you mentioned, Ruben Cotter has come out today and has mentioned that he didn't get eye gouged. It wasn't an eye gouge. So I just want to let everyone know out there.
That's literally that's just the bro code, right? That's NRL bro
code.
It was
a facial. I wouldn't go as far as saying it was an eye. I think it was a facial, but I don't think it was an eye gouge.
That's an NRL bro code. Unless it's anything racial, no one's going to say anything.
Well, he didn't need to come out and say no to it either. Not many players do that.
Question. So he did.
Yeah,
he
well, I don't think it wasn't a proper eye gouge. I think it was just a bit of a facial, a bit of a rough up.
There was fingers in his eye, and he pulled his head.
Did he go too far with it? I think he did, but I just don't think it was that next level of. I don't think it warranted a sin bin. I don't think that's right.
Disagree totally.
Well, that's because,
but it didn't
get
made. But it didn't. But the point is, either way, that should have been, and put that in the NRL, and that's 100% going to be. But the point is that he didn't, right? And then I was talking to one of the New South Wales boys that was sitting next to us, Brent, Pack Lords, everybody, and he was telling me a couple of moments later on in the game, he's like, oh yeah, that should have been probably, even as a New South Wales fan, that should have been a sin bin. And I'm like, no. Yeah, I don't think you can sin bin if you're not going to sin bin what happened in the first half, you can't sin bin something a much more softer and that sort of thing. But the point is, what I'm saying is that in game 3, if you're not going to sin bin that from game 2, this sort of stuff's it's going to be a lot harder. There's going to be a lot more. It's going to be a lot tougher. It's going to be much more brutal. we don't want the dirty stuff, but it's going to be, and so that's why I'm saying a couple of those guys.
Yeah. I think that was dirty stuff each way, and I think that's going to come with the territory of Origin in that arena. It was very clear last night. Both sets of players came out, probably Queensland more than New South Wales because they were desperate. They were sort of on edge in a way, and they were happy to go whatever lengths it took to get New South Wales off guard, and they did achieve that. And it probably gets me into the New South Wales side of things really well because as a fan of the Blues, man, I was so disappointed in that first half. Like the way we played, the way we let Queensland get under the skin, the errors. I know, as I said, there was a few penalties in there that I think were fair penalties, and I think our discipline was pretty poor, which I'm not too impressed with, especially knowing it was a Perth. We've got a great record at Perth. Looks like they may have read all the press a bit too much and thought it was just going to happen for them, and they weren't ready to pull up their socks and roll up the sleeves and get into the hard work that needed to be done. Even after scoring the first try, which was a bit weird to see. So it was really disappointing, and we just left too much ground to make. Like, I'm not going to sit here and blame Lomax. It's easy to do that, and it's easy to sit there and go, "Oh, well, you're a para fan, you won't." But just, I feel like our first half alone was enough to just warrant the fact that we didn't deserve to win that game. Look, the comeback was awesome. I think we played a fantastic style of play in the second half. It seemed like as the rain started to go away, it started to dry up slightly. New South Wales started to come into their own, which I think a lot of us sort of predicted, and were just forgot to double check the radar a few hours out from kickoff to just double check where everything was at. But yeah, it was disappointing in the end, that first half performance anyway. So for me, I guess that first half, it sort of got summed up because players like Luai, Martin, they were both sort of really getting into the niggle. And from what I remember of game one, we didn't get involved with any of that. It was just more so we were very strict on this is our game plan. This is what we're doing. And no matter what, we're just going to play our football. And I just don't like that. And I put a video out, obviously, a bit earlier from one of the questions that came through. And I thought it'd be a good way to turn into an actual post because there was a fair bit to talk about. But plenty of people out there are talking about Luai's game and saying that he was actually pretty good. Second half, set up a few tries, things like that. The second half suited his style of play, and he's that sort of player. He's chasing points. He's up and down. He's everywhere, frantic. That's him. I actually thought he really got in the way in the first half. Our attack looked really disjointed, a bit all over the place. Felt like a few players didn't really know what they were doing, and their lines were basically overrun, things like that. And I think a lot of that has to do with Luai and him as a player. I actually said when Moses went down, I would have put Burton in because he's more of a straight line sort of playmaker, straight up and down. He will sort of do that style a bit more, and I was worried that Luai wouldn't. And it feels like it was justified. And into the fact that him and Martin as well, just were too worried about getting involved with all that rubbish. And I just feel like there was no need for it. Like the best part would have been the old school, go look at the school, but at the end of the game and just be like laughing after that and go, well, we're holding up the shield. You're not. So really disappointed. But I guess from a Queensland point of view, Trav, you'd be loving the fact that the two guys that you could easily bait out there fell hook, line and sinker.
Yeah, but to be fair, I don't actually think we went out to do that style. I don't think that's what happened. What I think is that New South Wales actually kind of it turned foot. So in game one, Queensland came out to try and enforce themselves and do some of the the physical, dirtier sort of stuff that we like to say. And it turned and it came against us. Whereas for some reason this game, the New South Wales boys tried to do that, right? And like a prime example of like the Tino, the second Tino drop, and Liam Martin gets in and starts having a crack at him like he did. There was bits and pieces like that I sat there and thought, no, what are you doing? Like, you don't need to do this. You already have the cuff, right? This is you're on the front foot. So why is the mentality changed? So I feel like there was a mentality shift that just didn't need to happen. And it happened for most of that first half. And I think what happened is then obviously something was said in the sheds around, pull your heads in, stop this. Like, we this is not our style. We don't need to do this. Let's just go and play footy. And when they just went out and started playing footy, the results started to happen. I think it's, It's interesting how, we talk about errors and stuff, because New South Wales had 12 errors, Queensland had 15. So Queensland actually had more errors.
I was in the second half.
But
that's
that's right. But it was the timing of it, and then how like the team enforced that and punished that error, which is what we did in the first half. And it felt like all of our points came off like a bad error from New South Wales. There was a couple of errors in the second half that we had that were bad, like the hammer error that kept us. Like if he takes that instead of tries to kick it and turns into a knock on, I don't think that last 15 minutes happens the way it happens, because that was off the back of a 16-minute set. We've played a really good set. We've got you all the way down to the meter line. We then defend really well. New South Wales only goes 16 meters. I think it's Luai has to kick it, and he does this horrible offside, check side, offside, whatever you want to say, kick off his boot, and it only gets to halfway. The hammer drops that, it's a knock on, and then off they go and they get a try immediately off that. That's a whole different game if he just takes that, because we're then putting it back into attacking the line again, so it's a different set. So yeah, it's a long-winded way to say. I don't know what happened. I don't know the message, and I feel really odd talking about it in terms of how New South Wales saw what happens if you want to take that dirtier line, the ill-disciplined line, and try and enforce and pose a presence, because that's what Queensland did, and you won the game. So why did they turn around and do that in this game? I don't know.
That's why I feel like. Were they a victim of reading their own press? That sort of for mine feels like the only logical kind of reason. Like they go out there with a bit of arrogance, bit of all right, this is all us, this is all about us, and it just bit them. It bit them on the backside. They weren't willing to go that extra couple of percentages that they were in the first game, and that was notable. There's a couple of things I feel like off Nathan Cleary. I think let's just address. Let's address that first. Actually, hang on one more. You mentioned that last bit on the line, sort of attacking raids. We looked like it was just a matter of what play we're going to score and win the game. And then for some reason, we're going left majority of the night, which was working an absolute treat for us. And then for some reason, Watson, Crichton, and I think it was Lomax decided to do these continuous short side raids, which we didn't do all night. So I don't know why you'd think it would just all of a sudden let's start doing it, and just completely derailed any chance that we had. And I just thought, what a weird time of the game and stupid time of the game to try and change what's working. It just felt like it was a matter of time. We just took one maybe up the short side, and then we just slung it out to the left, and it was going to be basically try time, toe in the corner like he done most of the night, and they went away from it. It was so odd. I didn't understand it, and that's what leads me into the Cleary stuff, because I feel like a fully fit Cleary would have overcalled that for sure, demanded the ball, and away they go. It just felt like that whole game, now that we know the full story that he is carrying injury into the game, and that all now makes so much sense, because I even said from the get-go when that first kick happened and Luai kicked out on the full, turned to the boys and I said, why is Cleary not taking the first kick of the game, setting the platform, putting a massive up and under, getting down there, hitting the ponger, and we're going from that. Instead, it's Luai who's, let's be real, he's not a notable kicker. He's not a great kicker either. He gets the first one, goes out on the full, and all of a sudden pressure's straight on in a game that's must win for Queensland, and they're just going to eat that, and ideally they would have camped down our end. But Nathan Cleary is under a whole heap of pressure at the moment, because there's still that narrative that he hasn't fully attacked an Origin yet. He hasn't fully owned an Origin series like Moses has done last year. Again, now that he's played this one with an injury, he was not himself. It was very, very clear. Not goal kicking either, which he was saying even in the build-up. I know this happened on coaching, but he was keen to do the goal kicking. Awesome. He was confident, things like that. So the whole bit of it, if you throw it all in the bowl, mix it up, it just reeked of a really poor night for Cleary. Now, funnily enough, his running game was quite good last night. Like, he actually was happy to take on the line still. It was just more so it impacted his kicking game. So it just wasn't quite there, Trav. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it just wasn't quite there. And the concern is how serious the injury is now, I guess, for game 3 and the Panthers for the next couple of weeks at least. But just, I'm surprised he played, to be honest. If it happened in Caxton run and then they're saying that, you can't carry injured players in anymore. I think we've seen that a number of times, and we'll talk about Payne Haas in a second. He's a freak. His second stint was just ridiculous, just absolutely ridiculous. And Toto didn't train all week. Again, we've seen that with Haas in the first game. Toto was an absolute freak as well. Like that stint, his game was just absolutely insane, and potentially should have got man of the match as well. But Nathan Cleary, it's an odd one. He's got to be. There's a bit of pressure on him now, especially coming into game 3. If he is fit, he does play. There is a lot of pressure.
Yeah, there is. And the difference being is that he's got a loaded team, but he's the man, right? He's had a loaded team in the last couple of years, but he hasn't necessarily been the man. He's been able to sort of ride off the curtails of the rest of the team. Whereas now this is on him. He was poor last night, so you're trying to give him credit where credit's due with a couple of runs that he had, and a couple of nice runs he had to, because he was poor. Like, he was literally just a statue out there. It was just really odd, the amount of times that, and look, the stats don't necessarily back this up. He had 14 kicks, 5 to Luai, 2 to Mitchell, 2 to Crichton, 1 for Toto, 1 for Dylan Edwards, just to go through the full stats. But it just felt like, and particularly in that first half, it felt like you would have that New South Wales had their 5 tackles, and then they'd go away from Cleary and they'd try and find someone else to, like, it just felt like that. And clearly the statistics don't show it as much with that, with the fact that he kicked it 14 times, but it just didn't, like, there was no aura about that, was there? Like, it wasn't, give the ball to the best kicker in the competition, and let him set them up so that we can play the field game. Like, it just didn't have that. And they went away from him. It was just really odd. And, one thing that I really like about Cleary is his game management and his game awareness of what to do and when to do things. And very rarely does he get a 5th tackle option wrong, like where he goes, all right, no, actually, instead of kicking this, I'm going to run this, or I'm going to move out to this side and dig into the line and get the ball out to Toto. And that's one thing that we rave around how good Cleary is. And last night it was far from it. And he was bad. I will say I don't like what Cleary did, and I think I predicted him for man of the match. I had much higher expectations of him because he was ready to go. But the injury was shown. Like, you could tell in the first 5 minutes that, like, he was injured. Like, the fact is that Luai kicks that first one that goes out on the full, and we all went, "What?" Like, Cleary was right there. Why is he not kicking that? Yeah, and even just the power in his kicks. There was often it was a 20-meter kick where, full well that would have been on the goal line, a further 20, 25 meters. But he just didn't have any of the power and direction in what he was doing. It was literally just like a high ball 20 meters in front of him. Like, there is lots and lots of pressure on him. And look, I would hate to be Nathan Cleary if game 3 happens and they lose and he does not play well. Man, like, the negativity that's going to come from the community to him, everything will be directed to him. And he has to, in game 3, come to that match 100% fit or don't play, because if you don't play and you're injured and you lose or things don't go well, the community is going to derail him.
Yeah, no, I agree. Before we just do quickly the changes and get out of here, just a couple of quick notable shout outs for players of for the Blues point of view. I mentioned it before. I think Payne Haas's second stint cannot be under appreciated. I think it was absolutely huge. He seemed to be everywhere. Didn't stop both in attack and defense. Had a couple of huge momentum changing runs, which helped New South Wales get on the front foot when it was really important to do so. Coming into it, apparently he had an injury as well, so that makes it even better. I think he's, at the moment, for mine, probably slight favourite for player of the series at the moment. Obviously, depending on who wins game 3, but I'll probably have Payne Haas going over both games so far as my slight favourite for that position. And then the next man up probably isn't that far behind him, to be fair. And I think he was potentially man of the match. I don't want to be disrespectful to Cam Munster's performance, because I think his first half especially was really good. And the way he just changed, I have so much respect for, from who he was a few years ago to how he performed last night, both during the game and off-field stuff in terms of the referee and stuff like that. I was really impressed with. So I don't want to say he didn't deserve it, because he did. But I think Brian Toto, like, I don't think anyone would have complained if he ended up getting man of the match last night. That performance, I'm not even thinking about the 3 tries. Like, that's a bonus. But again, the work, the fact he didn't train all week, like, that might be the new way to go. Maybe we just start not training these guys, because Payne did it in the game 1, didn't train all week, came out and was the best player on the field. Toto's done the same thing in game 2. So maybe that's a new game plan for coaching the modern day athlete. Just give them a week off and they come out and they absolutely rip it up. So thought both were fantastic, Trav.
Look, I had Brian Toto as the man of the match, and I think Munster was deserving, and I'm happy of that. And that was obviously because Queensland win. If Queensland don't win, Toto gets that for sure. I thought he was better. 3 tries, 4 tackle busts, 2 line breaks, 229 meters off NRL.com. Off 25 runs. That's just enormous. He was 80 meters more than anyone else on the ground. It was just a fantastic performance. Something that I find really interesting is he only had 1 tackle, which to me just kind of shows that Queensland didn't play through their edges much. And it was, and the 2 tries that Hammer got were off the back of quick runs and a quick play out, and then off he went. And that was kind of, so, I just think that was really interesting, but definitely. And yeah, Payne Haas is a monster. 4 tackle busts for him, 142 meters off 13 hit ups, 16 runs. That's just enormous for it in that weather, in that type of game. Full credit where it's due, right? That was a more enormous game for 35 tackles as well.
Yeah. Just as an ex-winger out there, that stat of Brian Toto's of 1 tackle is like the dream. You just love having those stats where you go, yep, don't have to do anything in defense, just give me the ball, let me score. So that is all. But the thing is, he just worked his ass off in attack and makes all those hard runs and just gets belted and just gets back up. Must be those Coke Zero. Shout out to Coke out there. Look, finally, we'll just quickly go about the changes if we would make any for the Blues side. For mine, I got a couple of question marks. My first one could be controversial out there. I'm happy to copy in the comments. Please add it. Please try and be respectful. But look, I'll wear it. I'll wear it because I know it's a harsh one, but I think what I'll say is valid. I think Dylan Edwards is under some pressure for game 3. I think his performances, even probably for this year, haven't been the Dylan Edwards that we're used to from last year. And I said it last night, I would probably go Pappy. I've heard a few people say today that they think Teddy's very close, but I think they've moved on from Teddy now. I think it's time to start looking into the future more than potentially the past, even though Teddy's on fire. Like I wouldn't bag him if they went Teddy. I get it. But for me personally, just to have that bit more spark from the back, I would probably go Pappy. I think he's been sensational this year. And obviously got Bellamy there. He knows the Storm players in the Maroons outfit better than probably anyone apart from Bellamy. So then that also helps a bit of a leg up there as well. It's that extra bit of speed. I think Edwards has lacked a bit of speed this year, obviously with his injuries building up, has impacted that. And he's just sort of isn't providing much in terms of that attack side of things. And especially when players like Cleary and that are playing busted and they're not quite themselves, I think we need our fullback to be there with a bit more speed and agility and cause a bit more havoc with the Queensland defence. So I'm not saying I would definitely make it, but for mine, that's one question mark I've got for this side coming into game 3. Luai, for mine, I said it, like, I don't think his performance in the first half warrants another crack. I think I was really disappointed with his efforts. I don't think game 3 will go anything like the second half of last night's game either. So I don't think it quite suits him. I'd go Burton, to be honest. I like the long kicking game he has, like the bomb obviously he's got. I think that could be really crucial in game 3 in Sydney with a bit more dew on the ground, things like that. And the last one is in the props. I would probably take Max King back to the bench. I think that was suited him better in game 1. I didn't really notice him, not being disrespectful to his game last night. I didn't really notice him much at all. I know it's not going to happen, but I'd personally probably go Terrell May and start him. But the other thing I'd do is go Keon Cole Matangi. I would go either of those. I don't care who they go for, and I'd take off Stefano from the bench. I don't think Stefano had a great game at all last night. Unfortunately, he's young. He's got plenty of years to go. I definitely think he'll keep improving under that Storm system. I just don't think right now is the time. I think he made a few costly errors that sort of brain fart moment he had where he just wanders back into the defensive line for Cleary's try was just one of those, what are you doing type moments. And I just think, obviously, at this level, game 3 must win. Someone like Keon coming off the bench, or potentially I'd start him, would be huge. Same to Terrell. I think either of those would do a huge job and be an upgrade and improvement of what we had last night.
Every one of our Supercoach listeners just grabbed their phones and threw them away and said, Joel, you've got no idea. You're an asshole for your changes that you want to make.
I know it's true.
I said this before the series started, that I wouldn't have picked Dylan Edwards as the fullback. That, plain and simple, it was Teddy's. I think also you've got to get over this notion of playing for the future, because it's game 3 now, and all you're doing is playing for the 2025 Origin Series. So there's no notion of picking Pappy because he's potentially the future over Teddy. You pick the best player right now that's going to win you a game. And I don't think Pappy's going to win you a game 3 in Origin. It's going to be, that game is far away a different type of game to what would suit Pappy and how he plays. Pappy's a freak. I'm a Storm fan, as you can see. Obviously, I've got him in Supercoach too, but I also have Teddy. But I don't think Origin game 3 in that moment suits him. The best person to pick right now is Tedesco, 100%. He's in form. He's defensively, he can attack, and he's got the maturity and the experience to manage a game that's game 3 like that. I think it would be enormous. So I would go lock Teddy in. I've said that from the start. I think it should have happened right from the start. I agree with you for Max King. It's hard to notice him when he's only played 25 minutes. He had 6 runs for 47 meters. Like, it's very hard to notice. And most
Turbo numbers.
But yeah, most of those, except he's not captain. But most of those 25 minutes were in the first half. Well, I think it was. I think he didn't come back. I think he played the first 25 and then didn't come back.
He didn't.
And Queensland just overrun them in the first half. So he just looked like nothing. So that's why he didn't. I liked what he offered and how he played in game 1. And I think that kind of is what you need to have. So I would definitely have him off. And to the bench, I'd drop Stefano, to be fair. I think Stefano should be on the extended bench, but I wouldn't have brought him in. And yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. It's Terrell May. I'd go Terrell May over Kulamattangi, to be fair. And the reason is because it's across the season. Terrell May's been better than Kulamattangi. Kulamattangi's only been really good, and we've only been talking about him for the last 4 to 5 weeks. But Kulamattangi's also got a face fracture. You don't want that type of injury or a big injury or some sort of injury going into a do-or-die game of game 3. I think that's something that I would be avoiding, whereas Terrell May's going in this 100% fit, and that's something you need in that. So I would make that change. I've got one more for you. I disagree. I actually also think I'll go another one, sorry, but I think Luai is better. I think Luai is better than Burton and what he's going to offer. And I think the first half was just because, yeah, okay, they've played together for the last 4 years, but also they're now in 2 different systems, and they've played in 2 different systems for 15 weeks and a preseason. They've been away from each other. It just took a little bit to get used to. And to be fair, he was only brought in on the weekend. Like, it was only a few days, so in the lead up to it. So I think the first half, it was a tale of everything. Like, in that first half, that wasn't on Luai. There was a few mistakes, but the whole team was shit house. That wasn't Luai's fault. In the second half, Luai was great. He was very good and really helped. And defensively, he was great. Attacking, he did great. And he really stepped up because Cleary was a bit of a passenger. I actually think that he would be much better in a full training outfit for the full week in the lead up to it, and off he goes, than Burton. I'm not sold on Burton as a 5'8", to be fair, and particularly in Origin. And I don't know if I like him next to Cleary. So I would do that. But my other one that I wanted to talk about is Connor Watson. I just have not liked Connor Watson really the last 2 games. He had moments in game 1, but even then, he only played 19 minutes in this one, but those 19 minutes were just poor. But he was put on at the crunch time. So it's very hard to be good for 9.
Very frantic.
That's right. And it's very hard to be good for that 19 minutes when you're trying to put points on and get back in the game. He wasn't set up in a situation here to be successful, but that's the role, I suppose, as the 14 for the New South Wales Blues, is to come on and go, you're either going to cover an injury or we're going to need you to pinch hit really late in the game and get us, and do something for us. So I suppose that's it. But I just didn't like what he did. I didn't like the way he played. I think it was error filled, poor decisions. I think there's a better player. I'm going to actually say that I think Api Coruscant would be a really good 14 for game 3.
I think he needs to start. I think he needs to be a starter.
Yeah, but then you've got Robson.
That's what I mean. And honestly, Robson's fit enough. He could probably realistically play 80. Like he could have probably got through that last night as well. And they just wanted to add a bit more X factor and spark with Watson to try and catch up on some points. I do get the Watson stuff. I do. I haven't been, over the moon with him. He hasn't really stood out. But at the same time, he probably hasn't had enough minutes to do so in either game yet either. So I'm kind of finding it hard to be too critical of him. I think he's kind of done a job in a way. He's there. He can play 13 as well if that is needed. If something happens in the halves, like the 5/8 for a pinch, he can play that. So he does offer a very good amount of versatility where if you have like a Coruscant or straight away another player that came to mind was maybe Pappy at 14, it really restricts what you can do for game 3 if there is an injury somewhere that you can't really fit. So I like his utility value, but sometimes you also got to then realize how far do we go with just having the utility factor to then a player like in form and we feel like can do a cracking job and be that extra either second hooker or whatever they want to go about it. So interesting times ahead. Obviously, again,
I was a bit picky. I was being a bit picky with that one, but
yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he doesn't need to be dropped, but yeah.
Yeah, we've won 3 from 4 halves, I feel like, at the moment. So you also, at the same time, you don't want to make too many changes. You do want to respect what they've done. Majority of them have done a great job to get where they are. But at the same time, you don't want to be complacent. There is definitely room for a bit of improvement. And I think some of those ones we've spoken about, especially in the forwards, are notable ones that we probably should do moving in. But that's it. One final quick one. Just one name that comes to your head if Cleary's out. So there's no Moses as well. Who would you put in? I'm going Katoa. I'm putting him straight in. Big, I know, big core, but he's in.
You kind of have to.
He's the
form halfback in the competition. Yeah. I think he's the best halfback right now in the entire competition, based off the whole season of play. Obviously, he's not the most skilled, and obviously, he's not the most capped and got all the accolades. But right now, he is by far playing the best halfback in the competition. I think, and that's a big call because Fogarty's been really good too. But I think Katoa's far outweighed what Fogarty's been doing. Yeah. Like Katoa's literally lifting that entire Dolphins team. Fogarty is great and has done really well, but that Raiders team's amazing, and it helps that he's leading the pack. Katoa's a freak. I think that's a no-brainer. To be fair, I'd be contemplating putting him in the camp.
I was about to say that at the bare minimum, I think the Dolphins have the bye that week as well. I'll be making sure he's part of the camp. He has to be 18th, 19th, or 20th man. He has to be because he's the future. He will be a clear long-term 7 there or sit wherever it goes because Cleary isn't going anywhere anytime soon either, I feel like. So they could build up a really good combination.
Unfortunately, Katoa is kind of like Stewie McGill. In Australian cricket, right? This probably the best spinner ever, but he was at the same time as the best spinner ever. Unfortunately, he's just at the moment where he's playing up against the best halfback we've probably ever seen, and will go down as probably the best player ever. Unfortunately, that's just where it's at.
Very much agree. And that's us, guys. We've gone way over time. We apologize. We did say at the start of this, we go for half an hour. Typical us, we just get yapping. So apologies for that. Apologies for the partners who are probably sitting there waiting. But what we do it all for you guys. Hope you enjoy it. Like, comment, share. Keep an ear out for that Game 3 event now. It's a decider. It promises to be huge. Caxton Street Brewing Company, of course, will be the host. Plenty of news to come out about that one. So thank you, Trav. Well done, Queensland, on Game 2 victory. We'll see you Game 3 in Sydney. Promises to be a sellout, I believe. There's ticket numbers already looking really, really good for that. And it promises to just be an absolutely awesome, awesome event. So thank you, guys, and we will see you next week. We need a break. It's been a big 24 hours.